And statements expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of WWDB, its staff, or management.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB. And now, your host, Philadelphia Councilman David O.
Good afternoon. It's a rainy afternoon here in the Philadelphia area. Hi, I'm David O, and thank you for joining me once again for In the Know with David O. Today, we have three outstanding guests. The first guest that we're going to speak to is Captain Benjamin Cooper. He is the commander of U.S. Coast Guard Sector Delaware Bay. And so what does the Coast Guard do? Well, what don't they do? They have so many roles, you might not even have realized all the different responsibilities that they have, and he is going to tell us about the Coast Guard and in particular what they do here in our region. Then we're going to be treated to interview with BriaMarie, the Fresh Princess, and we're going to hear a little clip of her song. She has a song out with Musiq Soulchild. It's called "Okay." Mm-hmm. And we're going to talk with her. She's a singer-songwriter from right here in Philadelphia. And then we're going to talk to Liz Scott. She's the co-executive director of Alex's Lemonade Stand. I'm sure you know Alex's Lemonade Stand. You've seen him. You probably heard the story, or if you haven't, you will now. And just the wonderful work that they do. What are they up to these days? Well, we're going to find out because that's what the people want to know. Let me first thank my sponsor, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Just the wonderful work that they do. If you've been injured, if you're hurt, helping to rehabilitate people, particularly to live as full and healthy a life as possible. The doctors there and the whole staff do a great job. And to PhillyLabor.com. All the folks that are in the labor community and all our sponsors that make this show possible. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Captain Cooper. He is, as I said, the commander of the sector here, Sector Delaware Bay, and the captain of the port in Philadelphia. He's held that position since May 2015, and he oversees more than 750 active duty, reserve, and civilian personnel that work alongside 2,100 Coast Guard auxiliary volunteers. And they have just a really complex mission, and I think that's the first thing to know about the Coast Guard. I mean, you could talk about, first, they are a military organization. Secondly, they inspect vessels, and of course, if you're in trouble, they'll come rescue you. But they also protect the marine life and protect, our community against pollution, oil spills, all kinds of things. And so, Captain Cooper, welcome to the show.
Thank you there, sir. Pleasure to be here.
All right, it's my pleasure. We've met a few times. Captain Cooper is just a wonderful person and, just a pleasure to speak with. By the way, he is a graduate of the U.S. Coast Guard Academy. He graduated with high honors in 1991, and he holds a master's degree from the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College and the U.S. Naval War College. He has a number of other achievements and other things that I won't get.
I sent my bio in.
Yes, it's in your bio. But why don't you tell our listeners, first of all, what the Coast Guard does? Because that's just a complicated topic in and of itself.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's Coast Guard is like you said, it's a military organization. When you think of the military, you think of the four other services most of the time: Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marines. Well, the fifth branch of the military is the Coast Guard.
Yes.
And we actually reside within the Department of Homeland Security, not within the Department of Defense. So that allows for some law enforcement authority, for the Coast Guard to have authority over American citizens.
Yes.
So for law enforcement on the sea, the folks that are federal law enforcement officers can interdict vessels, they can inspect vessels, and things like that, where you would not have the Army do that, right? Without martial law. So that's one benefit to having us in Department of Homeland Security. But the Coast Guard does a lot of things, like you mentioned. Search and rescue is our number one issue. We're always preparing for that or responding to that. And maybe we could talk about that a little bit later. But there's quite a lot of effort lately to try and make sure that people are safe when they're out on the water.
Yes.
Life jackets and filing a plan, telling people where you're going to be.
Right.
Very important before you go out in the water, making sure you get the inspections on your boats, and prevention saves lives.
Right.
It really does. And unfortunately, we've had some sad cases lately with loss of life. 3 cases recently. The Coast Guard does the counter-drug mission, right?
Yes.
You've seen that. A lot of that happens way down in the Pacific, in the Caribbean. But we're the port of Philadelphia, Camden, Wilmington, Paulsboro, those are very big international ports.
Yes.
And so we keep an eye on that as well with the Customs and Border Protection, also a member of the Department of Homeland Security. You mentioned that we do a lot of work with industry. So much of the trade coming into this country comes by ship.
Yes.
About 90%. Those ships are coming from all over the world, coming here to trade, and we will inspect those ships, pay particularly close attention to something coming from a country where they may not have really good security overseas. We're going to do better checks on them. But we'll do random checks on every vessel coming in. We probably don't have enough people to do every vessel, but we'll check them for safety, for security, for environmental rules, make sure they're in compliance, because I'm also the captain of the port, and maybe the worst thing that could happen is have this foreign vessel come in from, pick a country, Turkey, and sink in our channel, and then shut down the 4 major refineries that are here, the gas export that comes out of here, and then the fruit trade here. Most of the fruit on the eastern side of the country comes through this port, through Wilmington or Philadelphia or Camden.
Yes, and so you have to also make sure that the waterways are clear. Correct.
So that involves maintaining the buoys and the lighthouses and the ranges that the ships steer on.
Right.
In the wintertime, keeping it free of ice. So that's a waterways management function. So safety, security, environmental protection, supporting maritime commerce, all those are important roles for us.
Yeah, the policing role, and a military role on top of everything else.
Military readiness is important just for us as well. In the scheme of warfare, you have very little. You have interaction between nations all the way to kinetic warfare. But there's a lot in between.
Yes.
And the Coast Guard does a lot of those roles in between.
Right. Well, it's interesting to me because whenever we think about the military, we think about, for example, the Army, the Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, as you said, fighting a war somewhere overseas.
Right.
But we do have to protect our borders.
That's right.
And we have certainly been attacked in a number of our different wars. And so what happens when we're at war? How does now I know the Coast Guard is there before they are incorporated into the Department of Defense.
Right. We serve under the Department of the Navy.
Okay, when that happens.
That hasn't happened since World War II.
Yes.
But so the Coast Guard does have assets. We have some very capable ships that will be overseas. We have 6 permanently stationed in Bahrain now.
Right.
And they will ensure the free flow of commerce through that pretty important part of the world.
Right.
And they do interdiction. Piracy is a big thing in that part of the world, and we're a law enforcement agency.
Yes.
With expertise at sea, so we're used over there as well.
And then with all the oil refiners and whatnot, there are cases where there are oil spills, and then the Coast Guard is right on the spot.
Right. So federal law is written under the Clean Water Act for oil spill cleanup on the maritime side. The Coast Guard is the federal on-scene coordinator.
Right.
On the land side, the federal on-scene coordinator is the EPA. Right. So we work closely with the EPA. If you remember Exxon Valdez, or the Deepwater Horizon spill, the BP spill from several years ago. That was a very large Coast Guard role. I was down there in the Gulf for that spill.
Now, it just seems to me, because I'm a lawyer by trade, that there's a lot of codes and stuff that you are talking about, because you just can't go boarding vessels or coordinating environmental things or maritime, and then there's like our waters, somebody else's ship. Is there a lot of codes and
awful lot of training for Code of Federal Regulations,
right?
And maritime law, whatnot. I'm not a lawyer, so I rely on the help of a lot of smart people to help me to guide us to do the right thing.
Now, the other thing that's interesting to me, we're talking about a little before the show, but you as a commander of the Delaware Bay sector, you not only have your Coast Guard and civilian personnel, part of the Coast Guard, but you also rely on 2,100 basically civilian volunteers. Is that right?
Right. They're uniformed volunteers.
Yes.
So these folks will spend their own money, because we don't pay them at all. Mm-hmm. They'll put on a uniform,
right,
which we want them to wear properly, right?
Yes.
And they'll wear a Coast Guard uniform with silver stripes on the top as opposed to the gold. And those folks are out there. Their primary mission is boating safety.
Yes.
So, for instance, here on the river or out on the shore in the Delaware beaches, they will interact with the public. They'll teach them about boating safety. They'll provide a courtesy inspection beforehand. They don't have a law enforcement authority. They can't carry a gun.
Right.
But they can go out there and say, hey, you really need to make sure you have so many life jackets with those many people. Or, the last time you went underway, you didn't have a sound-producing device.
Right.
Or you didn't have a float you could throw to someone.
Right.
So they're really a prevention tool.
Yes.
Those folks help me a lot because I just don't have enough staff. So they help with our planning staff, our hurricane contingency planning.
Yes.
During the Pope and the DNC, they did a lot of work with us, helping us to run a command post. So these folks do a great job.
Yeah, thank goodness for them, and really appreciate their spirit of volunteerism. But they are essential. But as a commander, this must also be interesting, because other commanders in the other branches of the military, they don't have to so much command active duty personnel plus civilian volunteers.
Right. Yeah. They say sir, and they're really good folks, but every once in a while we have some issues, and that has to be handled through administrative process, not the manual for courts-martial, which you're probably familiar with from
UCMJ.
Your days in the Army. Yeah, the UCMJ. I have to deal with that as the commanding officer, too.
Right. Okay. Well, that's a very interesting background, because me personally, I didn't really know all the different things that the Coast Guard did, and some of it is very attractive to people who might not think about the Coast Guard, particularly like the marine stuff and the environmental and all those type of things.
There's a lot of roles, and we're a very small service. We're about 40,000 people active duty, larger when you include the reserves and civilians, and then auxiliary. But because we're a small service and small budget, we don't have a lot of recruiters. We do a lot of word of mouth.
Yes.
People find the Coast Guard more than we find them a lot of times. And it really allows us to have some really great people, because they have that extra initiative to go seek us out.
Right.
They may see a movie with a Coast Guard in it or something, and they go, boy, that's interesting. I really like the idea of being a lifesaver while also being in the military.
Now, if you were to speak out to the public right now, and never know who's listening, somebody might be kind of like, hey, that's kind of interesting. What's the best thing that you would say about the Coast Guard if they were interested in some type of service like this?
I've done it now for 30 years.
Okay.
I think I don't regret a minute of it. It's not easy, right? Nothing you get in life that's worthwhile is easy. It takes sacrifice.
Yes.
And we'll tell you, you're a little bit of an underdog as a Coast Guard, because you're not really well known. But, we like to fight for the underdogs.
Right.
So I'd say if those things interest you, it's certainly worth exploring. And just look into Coast Guard recruiting.
Okay, fantastic. Now, is there anything particular that's on your mind right now as you sit here going through that whole list of things that the Coast Guard does?
A couple of things. One, June 1st kicks off hurricane season.
Oh, my
goodness.
So
we obviously have to be concerned with the hurricanes coming in offshore and being prepared both for my Coast Guard assets, the boats and the cutters and the families, where they all live out by the shore in Jersey or Delaware. But then also the ports and the facilities, making sure everyone's prepared. We know exactly what to do if a hurricane comes. But then the other is this National Safe Boating Week was last week. For Memorial Day weekend, we try to kick off and we have outreach and tell people about boating safety and wearing life jackets and making sure the kids wear them and filing a plan. Tell people where you're going to be so when you're overdue, we know where to start looking. That's very important to take the search out of search and rescue.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a big ocean out there. And there are also devices you can buy. It's called a EPIRB, or an electronic position indicating radio beacon. And you set that off, and the satellite will pick it up and send us right to your right location.
And that's not a requirement for people to have that? Is that optional?
On larger boats, it's a requirement. For personal boats, it is not.
It isn't, but a good idea.
But it's a great tool.
Yes,
yeah.
I would think so.
And,
right?
and for the cost of that, just a wonderful sense of comfort to know that I've got this beacon and the next satellite pass is going to pick it up. And you register it, so it tells you who it belongs to with a phone number to call the family. Oh, did they go out today?
Right.
Yeah, they sure did. Okay, I see the location is 2 miles off of Atlantic City. We'll be there with a helicopter shortly. So that kind of thing is really helpful to save lives.
Yes,
it really does.
Now the headquarters of Sector Delaware Bay is right here in Philadelphia.
Sure is. Right. We're Sector Delaware Bay. There's about 35 sectors throughout the country.
Okay.
But Delaware Bay is the 3-state region here, and homeported in Philadelphia.
Okay. And how much of a area does that cover?
Well, the Coast Guard Sector Delaware Bay is most of New Jersey, from Long Branch south, all of Delaware, and out about 2/3 of the way across Pennsylvania. So all the maritime boating safety, ship inspections, all the captain of the port authority, up to 200 miles offshore. That's our zone.
Now, part of what's on the public's mind these days, unfortunately, is terrorism and, all the things that come with terrorism, drug, smuggling and people smuggling. And that's a lot of area to cover. As you said, it's a big ocean out there.
Sure is.
How do we look at, for example, the shore or the water borders versus the land border?
Probably have less things to look at than you would expect. It's not like aviation where you have big radar and you can see all the planes coming in. We don't have that. There's not an outpost of radar detachments along the shore. We know because merchant vessels are required to carry an identification system, so we know what ships are coming. They're required to give us 96 hours notice that they're coming from overseas. Smaller vessels, not so much. That takes patrol by Coast Guard boats and cutters and aircraft offshore. You have to spot something nefarious, perhaps, or intelligence helps you identify what may or may not be happening. And then sometimes we just do random boardings to make sure.
Yes.
From a anti-terrorism, counter-terrorism point of view, we're certainly looking at higher risk vessels, and I have a team out of Cape May that will go offshore and board the higher risk vessels coming in from a place where we don't know that their security is very good.
Right.
In case they might have a history of stowaways or folks, we want to make sure we know everything's right. If it gets really risky from a counterterrorism perspective, I have a very high-end team that trains with the SEALs out of Virginia. They don't work for me, but we've trained with them before, and we will send them out and take down a vessel, take control of a vessel, and make sure that all is as it says it is.
So that is an asset at your disposal.
It sure is. And we did a major exercise last fall. Notionally, they were bringing in radioactive material. We had found the radioactive, a boat with it, and then we went and found the mothership, and they took down the mothership. Quite an interesting evolution to watch. You see, a SWAT team would do that ashore. This is something that the Coast Guard would do offshore.
Interesting. Now, there are a lot of assets that could possibly come into play with this, including helicopters and I suppose, planes overhead with radar and other type of things.
Yep, they're out there at our disposal. We do a lot of the counter-drug mission with those assets further south.
Yes.
Out here, we're patrolling. We have an air station out of Atlantic City. They're doing search and rescue. They'll do what we call Homeland Security patrols as well.
Right.
And then they also fly down to the National Capital Region, and they patrol around the National Capital Region. What they do is they warn folks that may be flying into the airspace around the Capitol that they need to get out of there. And if they don't, the next thing is an F-16. So the Coast Guard serves as the warning first. Bright orange helicopter, get the heck out of here, or you will not survive the day. So that's the mission. They fly out of Atlantic City as well.
Now, you are in your last 3 weeks, I think, right? Is that right?
It's gone too fast.
Yeah, I mean, you were the deputy commander, then the commander.
Right, yep. So I did 2 years as the deputy, learned a lot of the people and a lot of the issues, and got fully ensconced. And then they gave me the command for 2 years. And as a military officer, getting command is what it's all about. You really hope to do that someday, and it's been fun, but it's gone by too quickly.
So what happens next? Where do you go from here?
From here, all roads lead to Washington, unfortunately.
Not too far away from Philly.
So Coast Guard headquarters in Washington, D.C. And I hope to bring some perspective from the field, go to look to build the Coast Guard's capability.
Right.
People, training, assets, helicopters, boats, cutters, IT systems to try and do the mission more effectively.
Okay, fantastic. Well, it's great having you here, and thank you for your service and serving not only our city, but our entire region. Wonderful to have you. Good luck with everything, Captain Benjamin Cooper.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Now, stay tuned, because right after this commercial break, we're going to be speaking with the Fresh Princess. That is singer-songwriter BriaMarie.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB.
My friends, this is Joe Kraus. You've heard me on Philadelphia radio now for over 20 years, and you know I don't often endorse products or people unless they are real game changers. I want to tell you about Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located in Center City, Philadelphia. And at the end of this short personal endorsement, I want you to consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness. If you are recovering from an injury, if you or a family member has been diagnosed with a disorder that has stopped you in your tracks, or if you're like me, determined to learn about wellness while getting yourself prepared to stay healthy so you can enjoy the blessings of your family. Remember the name of this warm and caring location, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Why should you consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness? Because they are who you expect them to be. Weinerman Pain and Wellness on the web at WeinermanPainandWellness.com.
Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located at 100 South Broad Street, just south of City Hall. Call Weinerman Pain and Wellness at 215-988-9503. That's 215-988-9503. Call today. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Philly Labor RX Injured Workers Pharmacy Network, featuring PPC Pharmacy, First Choice Pharmacy, and Precision Scripts, providing injured workers with premium products and services from the point of injury through the entire healing process. The Philly Labor RX Pharmacy Network cares about injured workers.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
We are back. back. I hope you were with me earlier. We just heard from Captain Benjamin Cooper. He is the commander, U.S. Coast Guard, Sector Delaware Bay, the many roles of the Coast Guard. If you didn't know how many different things they do a lot. I couldn't even name it. I'd have to write it out on a list. But everything from protecting our maritime life to our waterways to fighting against oil spills to protecting our shores to being called up to war under the Department of Defense, and they are not just military because they can interact with citizens and folks from overseas and so many other things. So check it out, the U.S. Coast Guard. And now we're going to be speaking to the Fresh Princess. That is BriaMarie. She is here in the studio, and let me tell you a little bit about her. But just let me say that we're going to hear a little clip of her single. It's called OK. She performs with Musiq Soulchild, and that is from her new album 432. But BriaMarie is signed to Ethical Music Entertainment. She has been featured on VH1, MTV, TV1, Fox, and more. And she has also done a little bit of filming with some folks you may know, Kim Fields from Fact of Life, David Mann, and others. But she is a singer-songwriter who has got a message as well. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thanks for being here. Now, let me start with this. You bring some very interesting things to music. One is, nobody's making it in the entertainment business without being entertaining. So that you've got to have, right? Sing, dance, write songs, all that. But your music, while, having all the street creds, as we would say, right? Or somebody would say, not me, but, it also is music with a message. And that's a hard combo. I don't know why, but why is it that music with a message is sometimes a difficult thing to put together?
Well, honestly, I don't think it's a difficult thing to put together. I think the quote-unquote difficult part is going against what everyone else says or what the industry is pushing on you.
Right.
We don't always want music with a positive, well, I'm not going to say we. Sometimes others do not always want music with a positive message. And I think music is supposed to make you feel good, and music is supposed to be played around family and friends, so why not make it enjoyable and appropriate? So the label that I'm on, Ethical Music Entertainment, that's the entire mission of the label. It's just to make music that we can jam to, but that my 13-year-old sister can listen to, that me and my friends can enjoy, that my grandma can listen to.
Now, I will say that my listeners are saying, that's right, that's great. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there would be other people who would be saying, oh, man, I don't want to listen to that. And so for them, we have a clip of your music with Musiq Soulchild. So let's hear a little bit of that.
Cause you played the role way before, out of control, cause it wasn't my decision. We ain't adding up and what's bad enough. You're subtracting love after all this time, it's causing a division. Without a purpose, you've been hiding on the surface. Now I'm searching for a trace of your trust. Praying for patience, I'm so tired of waiting, but I still don't wanna give up. Cause I ain't built for letting go, so I keep trying to find ways to make you stay. But I can't do this alone. What we had is too great to give up. In my heart, I believe we'll be okay.
All right, and as the title is, okay, so that is some hot music.
Thank you.
And it's easy once you hear to see why you are a rising star and doing so well. And so, the other thing is, there you are. You're relatively, well, I mean, not even relatively. You're just young. And
I'll take it.
Yes, so you're young. And here you are coming out with a single with superstar Musiq Soulchild.
Yeah.
And so really, just really a fantastic launch to your career. And you have a new album out. We just mentioned 432.
Yeah.
Tell us about that album.
Yeah, well, this is all by the grace of God. This is such a blessing for me to be able to do this, and yes, have music with one of the artists that I looked up to through my childhood. So that song, "Okay," featuring Musiq Soulchild, is on my album 432. And the album, it's titled 432 because that comes from the term 432 hertz, which is a note. So they say that note promotes healing and frequency and love and peace. And that's what I want the songs on the album to do. That's what they do for me. You know, there's one of my anti-bullying songs on the album called "Learn to Love You," you know, promoting a healing of yourself. There's a song called "Brother Sister," which is healing within family. There's my grandfather is the intro and the interlude and the outro of this album. It's interesting. There's songs about still being beautiful in your sweatpants. There's a song about literally "Hello Monday," waking up on Monday and motivating yourself to get through the day.
So really hitting all the topics that concern people.
Yeah.
But instead of being downcast or angry, it's really about coming to terms with them, being positive, what you can do. Very kind of enabling music on this album.
Yeah, definitely. I can put the album in and it makes myself feel better. I know that might be a little bit weird, me listening to my own music, but hey, it makes me feel great.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, the whole idea is just to spark something inside other people to make them feel like somebody's relating to them. That always feels good and make you feel better inside. And I've had people sending me messages from all over the country saying that that's what the album's doing. So I'm just blessed to be able to do that.
Yeah, now you were on some TV shows, and I'm not saying this from my notes, but I just remember that you were on some TV shows. What were you on recently?
So I was just on News One Now on TV One. It's Roland Martin's show, so I was just on that last month. It's May, so yes, last month. I was just on there last month. We've had some radio interviews, and I've been on different television, but that was the most recent one. I did Holiday Love, which Kim Fields, you mentioned that. Right. She does a holiday special every year, and I got to play alongside her, and also David Mann. You've seen him in like Meet the Browns, all of the Tyler Perry plays, and he's absolutely hilarious. So to be in a scene with the two of them is mind-blowing.
Now, how did you get into this career of music?
Yeah, so my dad, actually, he is a drummer and a singer, and he's had a Motown cover band since I was about 5 years old. So that's maybe where the good music and the feel-good music stems from.
Well, that's, now that you say that, yes, feel-good music.
Exactly, Motown.
Yes.
Every time I'm at a wedding, people say, why do you know all the backgrounds to these songs? Well, because at 14, he let me start singing background for his band. So I did that throughout high school. I moved to Philadelphia. I'm actually from Maryland.
Yes.
I moved to Philly to go to Temple University, and I put together my first demo. I searched online for different producers, and I found Carvin Hagen's Grammy-winning producer.
He's been on this show. Let me just say, folks, if you don't know Carvin Hagen's 80 million records sold, 2 Grammy awards, just fantastic human being as well.
Yes, definitely. I found him on Facebook, and he actually replied.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, lots of people are looking for Carvin Hagen. How did you find him?
I literally went on social media. First, I looked up the Wikipedia page. Wikipedia is one of my favorite websites. I found him on Facebook and Twitter and sent him one of my first music videos. And he actually responded. He invited me for an interview at his company, Ethical Music Entertainment, in December 2011, and I've been with the company since then.
So here we are in 2017. So you've been with the company for 6 years.
Yes, I have.
And so even though you're young and you just burst onto the scene, in fact, you have put, since the age of 5, a lot of time and effort performing at 14, going to Temple University. And by the way, folks, 3.86 GPA. Yeah, so you weren't slack in college.
Oh, no.
And on top of that, writing and performing and going to the studio. So it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah, I was it was sophomore year when I met Carvin. So the end of sophomore year, junior, senior year, I was literally back and forth from school to the studio, which was an hour away, working all night, doing my homework in the morning, going back to school, and repeat every day.
And I'm imagining saying, not that Carvin isn't a great guy, but I don't imagine he just like brought you everything on a silver platter.
Oh, no.
No, you probably had to do a lot of stuff to prove that you had the stamina and the commitment for him to invest his time and everything.
Yeah, definitely. I actually got credit at Temple University because that was my internship. Ethical Music Entertainment was my internship, so he wasn't going to let me just slide by. I was literally the production assistant type in the studio, writing with other artists, singing backgrounds, cleaning, doing all the things interns do, and also artists at the same time.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And so what is it that you think Carvin Hagen saw in you?
What do I think that Carvin Hagen
We could ask him, but I'm asking you. What do you think he thought?
I think maybe I've heard him say these things. He said that I reminded him a lot of himself. In my persistence and determination, I'll sit there and try to figure out something until I'm blue in the face. And I'm assuming that would be it. It's weird talking about myself, but I think that's what he would say.
Now, what would you say? What do you think that you bring to your fans and the people who watch you perform or hear your music? What are you bringing to them that is special?
I think it's someone to relate to. A lot of the images that you see, especially in R&B music and, with black music in general, I don't always relate to some of the things that we see. There's this big promotion of the party girl who's always out at the club and hair and makeup always done. I don't have enough time to do that. I don't have enough time to do my makeup every day. I like to read at home. I'm not at the club. And people seem to relate to that. There's a girl that's not spoken for right now. There might be a girl in high school that's being bullied. There might be somebody who's a little shy, and that was me. So it's somebody to relate to, and I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, and you actually have made an effort to reach out to those who have been bullied because of your own experience.
Yeah, I have an anti-bullying initiative. It's called Love Over October. October is National Bullying Prevention Month, so we want to spread love instead of hate throughout the year over October. I've gone to different schools. Carvin also joins me. We go to different schools, and I share my own story with being bullied in high school. I sing some of my anti-bullying songs. We give them suicide prevention pamphlets, bullying pamphlets, and we make them aware and show each other what you can do to help, even if you aren't experiencing this. We were able to partner with the 76ers. They gave out hundreds of free tickets, so the kids were excited about that.
Right.
But just working to raise awareness about the issue, because a lot of people don't realize how big of an issue it really is, especially right now with the internet.
Yeah, let me just throw this out, because it's interesting to me, because as you sit here in the studio and I've seen you perform and everything else, you're popular, you're beautiful, you look like a star.
Thank you.
You did cheerleading. How were you bullied?
And that's the thing. A lot of people don't know these things. You always expect the stereotypical less popular kid and this big fat 8 feet tall bully. It's not always that way. I was on the cheerleading squad. I was a varsity cheerleader my freshman year, but with that came a group of girls on my squad who didn't like me. It started out at practice with them singing nasty songs to me, and then escalated to them dropping me at practice and throwing a volleyball at me and running around the mat laughing at me while I'm crying. And that escalated to me being in algebra class and them throwing a 2-liter Sprite bottle at the back of my head. And all of these things were extremely humiliating and devastating, but I didn't want to tell anybody. Who believes that this is really happening, and what do you do? My mom was very outspoken, so I was afraid to tell her because I don't want her to come up to the school and cuss everybody out, and then it gets worse for me. I didn't feel like I had an outlet. So my mission in the anti-bullying program is to let somebody know who's sitting next to that kid that's being bullied. You can be their friend. You can help them have some sort of confidence to tell somebody. You can even tell somebody if they don't tell anybody.
You know what? If Captain Cooper was sitting there, he would have stood up. See?
Exactly.
The kind of guy that he is.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Exactly.
Now, let me ask you this, because, for our listeners who want to learn more about you, hear the rest of the song and see what's on your album. Where do they go?
everything is on BriaMarie.com. That's shows, that's music. My album 432 is there. There's links to my next show, which is June 10th, on my actual website. We're celebrating Black Music Month, which is June, and it's called For the Love of Black Music. Some really great artists performing. Miss Lynx, who is a Philadelphia, she's worldwide rapper, MC, awesome music, clean as well.
Right.
David Live, who is an awesome guitar player.
I've heard him, yes.
He's amazing.
He's fantastic.
Definitely. And then Aviance, another trio, and they will sing your socks off. So all of these people are performing, and myself and my band, the Lady Beams, all girl band.
Okay.
And so that's June 10th at PubWeb. So BriaMarie.com. You can find everything.
All right. BriaMarie. One word.
Exactly,
BriaMarie.
exactly.
The Fresh Princess.
Yes.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, now stay tuned because we are going to talk to Liz Scott, who's the co-executive director of Alex's Lemonade Stand, right after this commercial break.
You are listening to In the Know with David O. Informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio on 860 AM WWDB.
My friends, this is Joe Krause. You've heard me on Philadelphia radio now for over 20 years, and you know I don't often endorse products or people unless they are real game changers. I want to tell you about Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located in Center City, Philadelphia. And at the end of this short personal endorsement, I want you to consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness. If you are recovering from an injury, if you or a family member has been diagnosed with a disorder that has stopped you in your tracks, or if you're like me, determined to learn about wellness while getting yourself prepared to stay healthy so you can enjoy the blessings of your family. Remember the name of this warm and caring location, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. Why should you consider Weinerman Pain and Wellness? Because they are who you expect them to be. Weinerman Pain and Wellness on the web at WeinermanPainandWellness.com.
Weinerman Pain and Wellness, located at 100 South Broad Street, just south of City Hall. Call Weinerman Pain and Wellness at 215-988-9503. That's 215-988-9503. Call today. Today's broadcast is brought to you by the Philly Labor RX Injured Workers Pharmacy Network, featuring PPC Pharmacy, First Choice Pharmacy, and Precision Scripts, providing injured workers with premium products and services from the point of injury through the entire healing process. The Philly Labor RX Pharmacy Network cares about injured workers.
By the way, you're listening to the Intruders, a Philadelphia music group. I love their music. By the way, if anybody's listening who happens to know if any of them are around, tell them to give me a shout out. You know, by the way, you can reach me at davidoh.radioshow@gmail.com. DAVIDOH, davidoh.radioshow@gmail.com. Particularly if there's anything you'd like to know. If you'd like to know something, ask me. We'll try to answer that by bringing a guest on, an expert, someone who really knows what they're talking about. On Twitter, my handle is @DavidOPhilly. Facebook, David O. And Instagram is Caldo Cares. I think that's Councilman at Large David O. Anyway, I didn't make this up. You know, my staff does. And to catch any of our shows, you can go to www.860.org. Well, it might be .com. I forget sometimes. I'm sorry. But anyway, you can also go to my YouTube page. Just go to YouTube and type in the Know with David O. So let me say that right now we're going to talk to Liz Scott. You have seen Alex's Lemonade Stand. I don't know if you know the work that they do. I think you know that it has something to do with helping children, but in particular research to combat childhood cancer. But to tell us all about Alex's Lemonade Stand and what they're up to these days is Liz Scott. Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
All right. Now, Alex's Lemonade Stand. It has been around for about 17 years, but really about 14 years as an organization.
Yes, that's correct. So my daughter was Alex, and she started selling lemonade in our front yard in 2000 when she was just 4 years old. Mm-hmm. And that really came from her experience fighting cancer, basically for 3 of her 4 years at that point, and her desire to do something to help other children like her. And it was that simple. It was just a lemonade stand in the front yard, and just every year would grow and grow and grow until 2004, which is probably when a lot of people in Philadelphia and really across the world first heard about Alex. And that was when she was not doing well. All of the treatments have failed her, and she knew she was going to make one last stand. So she created an event called Lemonade Days all across the country and all across the world to reach $1 million before she died.
And, it's a heartbreaking story. I mean, I myself, whenever I read this story, as the father of 4 young kids, it's tough to get through. But let me do this for the audience. This is one of 4 children, 3 brothers. Little girl was diagnosed with cancer. She had a really tough road to go. And as was said, when she was 4, she was struggling, and she said to her mom and dad that she wanted to do something to help other kids. And she wanted to raise money for research. And that's where Alex's lemonade stand came from.
That's right. It's that simple.
And $140 million later, money has been raised and to help research, because there's not so much funding for research for childhood cancer, is there?
There's not. And I was really surprised to learn that, and didn't actually learn that until we were several years into the fight ourselves.
Right.
When she was first diagnosed, the sort of standard protocol, as they call it, had a highly likely chance of curing her. But as it failed and failed and it kept coming back, we got to the point where it was basically considered incurable. And that's when we learned that there's not a lot of funding for research for pediatric cancer. They rely very, very heavily on philanthropy, and quite honestly, a lot of philanthropy from grateful parents or parents like us who've been through it, who want to make it different for other families. It was very surprising to me.
Let me say this. I thank Alexandra. Boy, what a legacy. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. And, she is just remembered and appreciated for all the work that she has done and carried on by her parents. That is a lot of money to raise for just a couple of parents, pursuing the legacy that their daughter has left. So thank you so much for the work that you do.
We are so lucky to do it. And, people give us a lot of credit, but it's really been carried on by thousands and thousands of people all across the country. And we've kind of been hanging on for the ride, I guess you could say, and making sure that the money is going to the best possible research out there.
Well, $140 million is, wow, that's really incredible. And how does it happen? It's just with all these lemonade stands and events and things like that?
That's exactly how it happens. People want to support this cause. I think, as you mentioned, everyone wants a cure for children with cancer.
Yes.
And Alex's story adds a really personal side to it, because she herself had cancer, and the fact that she's not here with us, I think, speaks even more to the fact that we need to fund this. And people have lemonade stands. We have all kinds of events happen all across the country that we plan ourselves. We have partners who raise a ton of money for us, and we just kind of try to always have new and interesting ways to engage people in solving this problem.
Well, I don't know if this is new, but I think you could win a car, right? A Volvo?
Yes, we are lucky. Volvo has been a sponsor since Alex was literally in the front yard. And every year they give us a car to raffle off.
Wow, I like Volvo better already. I didn't know that. Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah,
yes.
They were actually the company that took her over to reach her $1 million so she could see it met before she died.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how can people get involved? And the great thing for us in this region is that Alex's Lemonade, you guys are right here, right in our region.
Yeah, so we have a ton of ways to get involved all over the country. But right here in Philadelphia, because it's our home base, we have a lot of extra ways. So nationwide, from June 3rd to June 11th, anyone can sign up with us. It's free. Sign up. Have your kids have a lemonade stand. Have a lemonade stand yourself. You can do it at the office, at school, for a few hours. We actually send you some marketing materials and some support materials. Somebody from our staff gets in touch with you. But it's really cool is that Alex created that event.
Yes.
And there are thousands of people all across the country participating the same way that you are in that same time frame, all to raise $1 million and kind of keep Alex's event alive year after year. It's super simple to register. It literally takes 5 minutes. It's a really great way to be a part of something much bigger.
Where do people go to register?
To our website, alexslemonade.org.
Okay.
So that's happening nationally, and that's flexible. You do it when you want, sort of thing. And then we have several events. This is our big time. So we still have Alex's stand.
Yes.
Ever since she passed away, at her school, at Penwood Elementary School in Lower Merion Township. It's in our neighborhood, but it's open to the public. It's called Alex's Original Stand. It's a family fun event. It's like a little, country fair kind of thing with a lemonade stand, of course. And it's free for families. Everything's just for donation. It's just a really nice day to celebrate Alex and all the children with cancer. We release butterflies around noon, and it's a beautiful day. We have a telethon coming up on Thursday the 8th. CBS all day long will be airing Alex's story, a bunch of stories about what the money is doing and the families who are fighting, and people have an opportunity to donate to that. And then June 20th, we have the Great Chefs event in partnership with the Veterinary Foundation. And this is if you like to eat and you like food like you've never had before, this is an incredible event to support two really great causes.
Wow. So let me just go back for a second, because I see that this is the Alex's Original Lemonade Stand is an annual event, the second Saturday of June. Each June, the second Saturday of the month. And where does that take place? At the elementary school?
Yeah, so it really was Alex's original stand that we always had in our front yard. But the last year, in 2004, when her story was just really huge all across the country and the world, we decided to move it to the elementary school, which is about a 10th of a mile from our house, because we have a very small yard in our street, and we just couldn't handle it anymore. And it's been there ever since. So that's where she had her last stand. Right. That's where she and all my children went to school. But it's open to everybody from anywhere. We've had people come from as far as Japan to attend Alex's Original Stand, just to kind of see where it all started.
That's at Penwyn Elementary School. That's PENNWYNNE Elementary School. If you want to come out there and support and have a beautiful time with kids and butterflies and see a little piece of history, that really kicked off this wonderful nonprofit research organization. And you can also get Alex's Original T-shirts.
Yes, we have Alex's Original T-shirts. We have we like our merchandise, all kinds of T-shirts to show your support for children with cancer, show your support for Alex's Lemonade Stand, and a lot of other goodies you can buy there.
Okay, that's something. What else is happening as we look at the year coming up? I know this is the big season for you right now. You're hitting June, but what are the goals as you look forward to the next year or two?
So our goals are always to do more to cure this disease and to help families of children with cancer. So this year we have a big goal in terms of trying to raise more money than ever. We're trying to raise close to $25 million. And that money will be used to support the groundbreaking research, clinical trials that we fund. We fund everything from very early, basic, innovative science, which is really important to keep that going, and young investigators to bring them into the field, all the way through to first-in-children clinical trials. So that drives our goals. That's why we're here, and that's why we exist, and we're seeing success. So we want to continue to do that, but we've also been able to support families in a little larger way because there's many needs that aren't being met, like traveling for care is a big issue for families. We did it ourselves, and it's financially impossible for some families who need to drive 5 hours to get the treatment they need or fly for a specific clinical trial across the country. So we're able to provide support to those families as well.
Okay, and for those families, anybody who needs your help, they can also reach out to your website, Alex's Lemonade Stand.
Absolutely. We also have symposiums for parents. We have sibling programs. If we don't have a program for the need of the family, we have people on staff who try to refer them and connect them to other organizations that can help them.
Wow. And I'm just going to say this. I mean, some of your partners who have been so helpful, Applebee's, Auntie Anne's, Northwestern Mutual, Rita's Water Ice, Toys R Us, Five Below, Veterinary Community Partners, Red Robin, Alex and Annie, and of course Volvo. And I see that there are also other opportunities to get involved. By the way, are there also, like, for folks, if they go to your website, they can make contributions, donations as well?
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely. You can donate directly online. You can stop by the office. You can mail it. We will take a donation in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, you're hearing it, right?
You can donate cars to us. It's a really great program, and it costs you nothing if you have a car that you no longer want and you don't really think it's worth trading in. We work with a partner who takes care of everything, picks it up, doesn't even have to be drivable, and donates to us. There are many ways to donate and get involved.
Okay. Well, let me just ask in our last minute here, do you have anything that you want to let the listeners know?
I mean, I think, honestly, I'm just incredibly grateful, and I'm incredibly grateful to the Philadelphia community, especially, because I think, without the community here, Alex's Lemonade Stand would not be what it is today. And what it is changing the lives of children with cancer and their families. And I truly don't know that could have happened were not for Philadelphia taking on Alex's cause and caring about her and what happened to her, and being the first to say, we're going to continue this and make sure that we finish the job that Alex started. So I guess I would just say thank you.
Wow. Well, it's a really wonderful work and just very touching, and I really appreciate, just how you've taken something so sad and made it something so positive, and such good that's come out of it. And there's BriaMarie. She's shaking her head, eyes red. And no, Captain Cooper, he's strong on the outside. They say the strong guys on the outside have got a soft heart on the inside.
So true.
Yes, no. Well, listen, thank you so very much, and to the listeners, thank you very much for tuning in. Please tune in next week. I mean, we have a show every Tuesday. I try to bring you very positive, informative guests that have something to share. We will, I believe, have Eddie Alvarez, former UFC lightweight champion, on next week, and talk about a guy who gives it his all. So we'll see you next week.
You've been listening to In the Know with David O on 860 AM WWDB. Tune in again next Tuesday at 2 p.m. for more informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio with Philadelphia Councilman David O.